I want to welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. Welcome to our guest speaker this morning, Jane with CRMLS. Thank you so much for being here and sharing your knowledge. I know that you are a wealth of information, and we're going to be covering leases in CRMLS and syndication. But since we have you here, if we finish a little early, if you're okay with it, we can open it up for additional questions. It looks like everybody that's in this morning has joined us before. The only name that looks a little new to me is Michael Jacoby. Michael, I don't know if you want to unmute and maybe introduce yourself to us, and so we can all say hello. It's up to you. No pressure.
I've been to quite a few meetings recently, but I'm a property manager with Complete Real Estate in Temecula. I've been doing property management in the Valley for about 15 or 16 years.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
And I'm going to go ahead and share minutes from our last meeting. So our last meeting was just a discussion on the questions that we wanted to ask. We had the I think it was the GAD for the California Apartment Association that spoke to us in September. John Giardinelli did a presentation for property managers in September, and we also had our government affairs team. And so we came up with questions to forward to them. And I do hope that they covered most of your questions during the trainings. I did email all the recordings, except for the California Apartment Association. He asked that we did not record. So we did not record that meeting, but pretty much what he covered was covered by John Giardinelli and also Gene Wunderlich and the rest of the legislative team. I did receive a request from John Giardinelli. He would like to come and speak to our property managers directly. So we are going to look into scheduling that again in November for our next meeting. Because I know that there's a lot of information. I know that there's still questions out there, and so we want to make sure that you get your questions answered. And so this is the minutes. Pretty much it was the questions that I forwarded to them. And then during new business, if we have time, maybe we can discuss how that went for everyone and get your feedback. But are there any questions on the minutes or corrections or anything that looks out of place? We're good? Okay. All right. Well, Jane, the floor is yours. Thank you so much for being here to teach us, and we're ready to learn.
Sure, you're welcome. Let me share my screen. See what I've got here. Got Matrix open. So yesterday I was on the meeting and my screen wasn't shared. Did it share today?
I see it. Mm-hmm.
I don't know what happened yesterday, but it was a bummer. I was at your meeting. What was yesterday's meeting? I forget now. Just the caravan or?
Yeah, we call it the networking and property preview meeting.
Yeah, and I was going to share my screen, and for whatever reason it wouldn't work. So, but nonetheless, it worked today. So good morning, everybody. My name is Jane. I'm with CRMLS, and Sylvia asked me to drop in and chat with you guys about, leasing information here within the system. So I did start off on the dashboard. When you log into your association website, of course, always takes you to your multiple listing dashboard. And the reason I wanted to drop you here was because we now have under the resources, the listing distribution. So if you've taken care of this previously, let me open that up. You would not need to do this again. But if you're a newer agent, it takes a second for this to load. Authentication is required as to where do you want your listings syndicated out to. So this is for Zillow, Realtor.com, Homes.com, and Apartments.com. And your broker actually has to give you the go-ahead to make your choices here. So some managers may say, we're going to make the choices for our agent, or some may allow their agents to make their own choices. So it's up to you guys, maybe ask your office, but I would just double check this and make sure that it's all correct. And then of course, make sure you save your changes. So the only one I don't have checked is apartments.com. If I wanted that checked, I would say save changes. So I'm gonna leave mine as such because that's how the office wants ours. So we'll save those changes. But that is from the dashboard, and it's under CRMLS resources, listing distribution. So when you put your lease listing into the system, and I know everybody wonders, well, where does that listing information get syndicated out to? I have the flyer right here. Let's make sure that that did a good share. Okay, so here's your listing distribution to the syndicated site. So automatically pushes your listings to the MLS facing websites. There's a bunch there, homes.com, realtor.com, Zillow, Trulia. So lease listings are the same as the residential resale where they get syndicated out to. Apartments.com, this is through ListHub. Now you want to keep in mind that ListHub is managed by the broker or the manager. So the broker or manager actually goes in and they select which sites through ListHub all your office listings go out to. So this applies to all, excluding commercial listings. Commercial, of course, is different, and our focus at CRMLS is residential, so that's why it differs ever so slightly. But I found that flyer if you guys need it. So now I'm back here in Matrix. Oops, sorry guys, let me go back. I found that here in Matrix. Make sure I got the right screen up there. There we go. So I went under the Help tab to find that. I always think it's kind of hidden. I actually couldn't find it this morning myself. I had to ask Chelsea, hey, where did they tuck that away to? So if you go under Help and drop down here to Download Center, I would have never thought it'd be under the Download Center. I don't know why. I just thought it used to say distribution flyer. It was like easily to recognize, but it's under Help. Drop here under the Download Center. Click on that. So it's a couple clicks. And there I see syndication flyer. It's right there. So if you guys need it, it's going to be sitting right there. So Help tab, drop on down, Download Center, syndication flyer is right there. Okay. And it is current as far as I know. So as far as Zillow charging for individual listings, I mean, I would probably, I don't know all the exact verbiage to use as far as talking about Zillow. So I would prefer that if you want to really get into depth there on Zillow and the syndication, I don't really feel comfortable because I don't know exactly on syndication how Zillow is working. I don't keep up on all that. I would talk to customer care on that. So if you want to reach out to customer care, you could run that by those folks. Okay. All right.
Can
Go ahead.
I can give some information on that. So we did check with Devin in regards to the syndication. So listings that syndicate directly from CRMLS to Zillow, there is no charge for those. If you have your listings, you're inputting them directly into Zillow, then they are charging you, I believe it's per listing, Michelle. I think you're the one who shared that information with me. They're charging per listing. So that's one of the reasons why we have Jane here today, so that we can learn about inputting our rental listings in CRMLS so they can syndicate to Zillow at no additional cost.
Yes, they're actually charging $9.99 per week.
Oh, per week.
Per week? Wow.
Yes, actually per week.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a
So
lot.
if your listing syndicates from CRMLS, it's already included in the packet.
Okay. So under the links tab, let's just point out under links where we drop in there, guys, and find that option for ListHub. So you may just want to check with your broker or your manager where all the listings are being syndicated out to, because that function, as it says, is broker directed. So your broker or manager, and I'm sure most have done this, but it never hurts to check and just make sure, you know, all of the websites that your listings are being syndicated out to. And there's a long list. So it says up 900 plus websites. So it's huge. So that, like I say, is directed by the broker or the manager. You as the agent cannot go in and check that. It's going to prompt you, are you a manager or a broker? All right. So you guys are good with where you got that flyer from. Go to the Help tab, drop down under Download Center. Want to make sure I covered that question. Syndication flyer, and that's just a PDF, so you can grab that. So now, Sylvia, did you want to go in and talk about adding that listing into the system, or more geared towards searching? What do you all prefer?
Do you think we have time to do both?
Yeah, we can do both. We can point you in the direction of both. Sure, let's do that. So let's drop over here to search. Now, when you drop into the search tab, of course, it's broken down into categories, which I'm sure you're all aware of. But we see residential lease here. And just as if you were going in to search for a residential resale, you see all of the prefabricated searches that are set up underneath. So if I'm jumping in there and I'm searching for comps, I would use a CMA search engine. So kind of think along the same lines as searching for property, the same functionality if you're searching for leases or setting up for the CMA in that manner. But I'm going to go into residential lease, into a detailed search. And I'm not real familiar with the lease market, guys, so you might have to help me out a bit. But I'm going to say, okay, I want the status of active and single family. And the criteria as far as geographically, I always just want you to keep in mind that one geographic method is always the best option. So in other words, don't mix it up and say, hey, my client said they want this specific neighborhood, and then map that out, and then jump down and put in the city or put in a postal code, because it just confuses the system in the background. So you want to choose one geographic method as far as searching. So in other words, if I said I'm searching over in the city of Temecula for a rental, I'm just going to use the city of Temecula as my main geographic option. Okay, so the keyword inclusion searching might help you. As example, let's say that I have a client that is wondering, are pets allowed or not allowed? And I want a quick way to narrow down those properties. I could use keyword inclusion searching for the property description, and I could surround the keywords or phrases that I need to search, such as pets. Maybe RV parking might be one. I'm going to use pets in the property description, surrounded by an asterisk. And so I'll talk about price range and so forth here in a minute. But you'll see that I have 3 matches. So pets is within that property description. And I believe I looked at all of these earlier. It just said no pets allowed. So for somebody who is, wanting a property where they're allowing pets, at least I know that these properties are out. So it does have that word or phrase in there. And I don't know if there would be a particular word or phrase that might be popular as far as searching for rentals, but I just want you guys to keep that in mind, that if you have multiple keywords or phrases that you're looking for in the property description, you would surround that with an asterisk. Do you guys think that would be helpful when searching for leases? Like a keyword or phrase? I would think it would be. Or maybe your client's looking for a rental that has RV parking or horse property. That'd be another one, especially out in Norco area, Temecula area, horse property. I could surround that word or phrase with an asterisk. Okay. Let me look at the chat real quick here. Pool, that's always a tough one. because sometimes they'll say it's a community pool or an association pool. So I always think pool is a tough one. You could try pool, but that's tough either way, whether you're searching for resale or you're searching for leases. So it doesn't matter as many keywords or phrases as you want in there. In other words, if I said RV parking, asterisk, I also want to search for the word or phrase pool. I need to make sure I surround the keyword or phrase with an asterisk on either side. So I would say pool here with another asterisk, and I could keep on going. So there I have 3 matches that have pool or RV parking. It would search for either one or both of those keywords or phrases within the property description. Okay, let's look real quick. I'm curious to see here. So this one, oh, this is a huge, well, this one does have 1 small dog allowed. So that didn't refer to pets there. Let's see if I can find one that doesn't have such a huge description so we can narrow down. This one has a big one too. So I was looking at a listing earlier that said it was within walking distance to a particular school. Do you guys know what's wrong with stating within the description that it's within walking distance to somewhere? You guys know why you would not want to say that? This one says it's super close to shops.
Not everybody can walk
say,
the same.
Yeah.
Right, and also, yeah. I mean, actually, this one sticks out too. This awesome family home. You're steering. You're saying that this is, you're saying this is for family only. There's a lot of different words or phrases that you should not use in your property description because you cannot discriminate. So you shouldn't say within walking distance because everybody cannot walk the same distance. You're saying this is an awesome family home. So are you saying that a single person, it wouldn't be the right neighborhood? Or you just have to be very careful with the words or phrases that you use so that you don't offend anyone. So that's just something to think about. That's why you see a lot of descriptions. Agents have really shortened those up so that you're not held responsible because you put in the wrong word or phrase. So just kind of keep that in the back of your mind to not offend anyone. Okay, so that would be keyword inclusion searching. And there you see, just surround it with an asterisk, multiple keywords or phrases, separate those with a comma. All right, so I only have 10 leases in the city of Temecula. So in other words, if I drop over here, I'm sticking to really the main fields as I jump in there. I don't know what the price range would be there. Let's say they're looking for something that's 3,000 or less. I could say 3,000 and minus, right? So your range as far as plugging in there, maybe they're looking for something that is, like I said, I don't know what the price ranges are there. 2,000, and I want to go up to 3,000. I would use that hyphen for a range. So I have 5 matches there, okay? Do you guys know why there's the field there as far as price or status date? Or by active, if I wanted to plug in a date range. So let's say that I'm looking in the city of Temecula for leases, and I see there's only 10 matches. Let's also add in the city of Murrieta here. Let's do comma Murrieta just so we get a few more. We have 19 now. And I want to see what are the new leases just in the last couple of days. I could drop in here and use a date range for searching. So I could say, I want everything 0 minus 2. So that's going to show me there's not any new matches, maybe 0 minus 7. So in the last 7 days, there's 2 matches. So if I've already seen the leases that have been on the market for some time and I want to narrow down to a specific date range, I can actually plug in that date range by the status that I'm searching. So I'm using there the days back method. 0 for today, I want to go back 7 days. Or I can go ahead and I can click on the calendar icon and I can close up my date range that way. So I can select my date range. So clear that out. And then I also have on the right side, price or status date. That's going to reflect if there was some type of a price change within that lease amount or status date. So that would reflect if it's a new, in this case, a new active lease. So that's why the field kind of right up there at the top, it's very handy. Just keep in mind for searching a date range. Okay. All right. And there, of course, we see lease terms, pets allowed. You know, I don't know, as far as you guys are probably more familiar with putting in lease listings, but if you're familiar with what fields are required when you enter that listing, that's going to help you out a lot with searching. And we'll drop over and look at a blank input form, and we'll look at what fields are required when you're inputting that listing. Let's drop over here to the chat real quick. So is there a list of subdivisions? Okay. Caution of description. Yeah, you know, as far as giving a caution in the description, I think it does ding those words or phrases. Some of those words or phrases, but it doesn't catch all those words or phrases. I think really too, and I don't know, Sylvia, if you guys have a list at SRCAR, words or phrases that are acceptable so that you are not offending anyone when you're putting the property description. But I mean, I can ask if we could put something together. I know we used to have one. I think it's a little bit old now. Do you guys have anything like that? We don't have a list.
No, we don't have a list. We just have, we just go off of whatever CRMLS description, you know, like it has the, you know, don't put, you know, codes or stuff like that, like only description of the property. Whatever warning CRMLS says, that's all we have.
Yeah, I can ask them to put together a list of words or phrases that you probably should not use in your property description, so as not to offend anyone. But I mean, you know, people get offended by most anything now, so you should keep your property description really short and to the point, and that's going to be the best, I would imagine. So as far as subdivision, we're not using that in this particular area, so that would mean that your best option for our area is to map it out. So subdivision is used by the folks in the Pasadena area. That's why we see it there. So in other words, if I dropped over here to the map and I said my client is looking at a particular neighborhood, the best option for me to be would to actually map that area out. So you want to use your drawing tool. So if your client said, okay, you know, this is the area right here we want to live, then it's going to take out, once I draw on the map using my drawing tool, I typically will use this freehand polygon right here, but you could use multiple drawing tools. So if I said, okay, my client's interested in this little area, so I grab my freehand polygon and I mark off this area because they're kind of close to the freeway there. So what you'll notice happened when I did that, it took out my geographic option for the city, and now it's recognizing just the area that I drew out. So that's why I say this particular search option now just overrode Temecula Murrieta. So that's why we don't have subdivision, and you don't have, of course, area number went away as far as multiple area numbers go, because the map is just going to be probably the best way to search. So there is no subdivision list there. All right, so let's take that out. Now, if I want to take out my drawing areas, I could draw multiple drawing areas too. So if I said, hey, let me grab another little area, I can draw up to 25 areas on the map. And if I want to get rid of one of those, I just mouse over. I can delete one shape at a time, or the little broom right here would take all of those out. Now, if my client said, you know, we need to live in a property that belongs to a specific school district, and you've got the overall criteria plugged in there, but you want to look at the map and stay in a specific school district, I could use this little icon right here, which is layers, and I could put unified school district boundaries on the map. So that would load up and show me those unified school boundaries. So that button right there is kind of handy. It's called layers, and I just plugged in there unified school district. I could also do zip codes. The map will get a little bit messy, but that's going to break it down now for me. So that's always helpful. And agents will a lot of times ask, well, what about the actual school that they're going to go to, right? We're not going to narrow down that much because we don't want to take the responsibility, because those school boundaries could change. So these are the school district boundaries overall. Okay. All right, I'll take those out. So your basic searching, I think you guys are pretty familiar there, but the option as far as keyword searching goes, I can use that in the property description, the private remarks. I could also use the wildcard or the asterisk if I were searching multiple postal codes. Such as example, if I said I want everything that begins with 925 asterisk, it would search all that begin with 925. Okay, or if you have a particular street name, maybe you don't know the whole street name, I can plug in partial what I know of the street. Maybe it begins with Avenida as example. And I plug in what I know, Avenida with the asterisk, it would search all that begin with Avenida de las Flores. It would bring all of those back for me. So just that wildcard's kind of handy in particular fields when you don't know. Or if your client called, they said, hey, we saw a rental over on, we're not really sure of the entire street name, but we have a partial street name. You can plug in the partial street name with the asterisk after it. That would work. Okay. All right. So let's drop over here to results real quick. Now the results are pretty self-explanatory as far as when you drop in and you see all those search results. And there we break it down, of course, to the elements in the bath. If you're not familiar here you're breaking down, this property has 4 bedrooms. It has 2 full baths, 0 3/4, 1/2, and 0 1/4. So that is broken down into elements in the bath. And there again, it all depends on, you know, how did the agent input that? Did they input into the proper areas there? Okay. But any questions that you guys see on the agent one-line view here, or any questions when you go into the full listing? Any questions there? How about showing time? Have you guys set up your preferences for showing time? Are you aware that you have to set your preferences up for showing time? Because by default, showing time is attached to all listings that are input into the system. Many times I'll drop in here and I'll see the showing time icon is here. Then you drop down to the showing instructions and the agent will say, do not use showing time. If that be the case, then you should turn the showing time off. So I could turn it off as a whole, or I could turn showing time off per listing. So are you guys everybody using showing time? Is there anybody who's not using showing time and you do not want it attached to your lease listings? Then you need to go into showing time and turn it off as a whole, because otherwise it's attached to all listings. Okay.
Are you able to show how they turn it off? There's somebody in the chat that asked.
Yeah,
I'll
drop in there. Yep, I'll drop in there and show you guys. So I'll drop in there and show you. Thank you, Sylvia. I appreciate that. Okay. So let's talk about that now as we are on that subject before it drops out of my mind here. Let's go over to links. So I can get there a couple different ways. I can go through my dashboard, or I can go over here to links. So you think about showing time is attached to every listing when you input into the system. And it's just a good idea, guys. Anytime that you see it, we've added a new software that you're planning to use, or that is attached to every listing, such as showing time, just to drop in there and set your preferences up. So you need to drop down here to showing time. Okay. And by default, everybody has, their profile is pulling over the information from the roster. So our information at Matrix, the roster pulls from the SRCAR profile information. Also pulls now over to showing time. So you need to drop in here to edit your profile. And if I wanted to turn this off as a whole, I would drop down here where it says allow agents to request appointments online. I would switch this to no. So I have test listings, so that's why I have mine switched to no. So you as the agent, if you switch yours to no, there will be no showing time icon attached to your listing. That's how you would turn it off. Also, you have the option, allow agents to request virtual appointments. The default is set to in-person and virtual. So if you're not aware, within showing time, if you have the showing time app, you can show virtual appointments through the app. Pretty cool, right? So I can set it up to turn it off as a whole, or if I want to leave this set to yes, and I think, you know, for some listings, I'm going to use showing time. For some, this is not going to work out. I could drop up here where it says listing setup, and I could set it up per listing. So just however it works best for you. So it's either one or the other. So I'm going to drop back there to edit profile. So that if you scroll on down here, allow agents to request appointments online, it's either a yes or a no. The default, just so you know, is to yes. And if you're curious or wanted to download the app, if you drop down here, so you see it's divided into two sections, the listing agent showing preferences, and most agents are going to turn off that showing voice because from what I've heard from agents, it's kind of annoying because it just calls and calls and calls you. So if you want to uncheck the showing voice, and if you're using the app, you get the push notification on the app, which I would think would be so handy. I would just go in here and check my preferences to use this software to the best of its ability, what works for you. And I know many agents that have downloaded the app think it's really awesome because it's just a great way so you can sync up your calendar. You've got everything on the app. But if you want the app, guys, you drop down to the bottom where it says mobile app access. This is the best way to go. So rather than just going to the App Store and saying, hey, I want showing time, find it in the App Store, download it. If I go this route and I say, send me the authentication link here, it's going to go ahead and email it to you and open it up on the device you're going to use it, open that email, and then it's going to be branded already to you. So you really just saved yourself a step there. All right. If I want to do my calendar sync, that is right up here, calendar sync. I can sync up my calendar. That's going to make it handy for me. So now I have my calendar that I use as a whole. I've got that synced up. And you also have a calendar here for showings. You also have that calendar here within showing time. So showing time is just a great way to stay organized. I would think it would just be such a handy software. So typically it's a love or a hate. Either agents love it or they hate it. I've never really found it in between there. What do you guys think? Does anybody love showing time? Nobody?
I personally don't like it.
Okay, I get it. I mean, you can't use everything. So let me see here. Is there an area to be able to see the agent's name and contact number? So you know what? There should be an area. So when they request a showing through showing time. So if I drop in here, let's say I drop back into Matrix, right? Let's go back in there. And let me run the search that we just ran, which is right there. Okay. So when I drop in there and I request a showing right here, I click on that little icon. I request a showing. My information, my profile pops up. So that's what you should see when an agent requests through showing time. You should be able to see their information. That's why it's important to drop in there and set up your preferences. I mean, I'm not going to go through all the steps here, so I don't want to request any showings, but you guys jump in there and check it out. And if you have particular questions, you can always contact our customer care. Okay. All right, and I get it. You guys, it's probably best to speak directly to people, but some agents say only use showing time, so it kind of really depends. All right, so let's keep moving on here. If you guys have any other questions on searching, plugging in that criteria, jump in there and let me know. When we go up here to add edit, let's drop over there to add edit. And now when you're going in to add that new lease listing, when I go to add edit and I say add new, make sure that you choose the right form there, residential lease. My mouse has a little glitch. Let's get over there. So I can either start with a blank listing, and I want to look at that just for 1 second. And the reason I want to look at it at a blank listing input form, because if you're new, it will help you out with searching for leases. Because especially when you drop over here to the description, or the features rather, I'm sorry, and you're looking at what features are required by the agent. So if your client says, we'd like to have these features in our kitchen, I don't really see the point in searching for those because they're not required. And so if it's not required, is the agent actually going to fill out all those features? Probably not. So I would stick with the required fields, and those are the fields that are shaded. Okay, there's not that many really. So I want to say pool is required, lot features are required, but there's all your required fields. Okay, same would apply for the basics. As far as if we drop down here, senior community, of course, that's required. HOA is required. So just kind of get your yourself familiar with what fields are required when they enter that listing in. Okay, but let's go back. So when I drop in there and I'm inputting that listing, I do want to mention there's one field up here that says copy my listing. So if you previously had that property as a lease and now it's coming back on the market as a lease, you could say copy my listing and it would pull that data over from that last time you listed it. The only thing is you have to make sure that you're with the same office for that to work. Okay? But if I want to drop in there and pull that data over from Real as Tax, I have to choose here the county, first of all. So I'm going to grab San Bernardino County, and I'm going to plug in a street number and a street name. And what it's searching for is, through the search tab, it's searching the tax data. And it does not support a street suffix. So keep that in mind. So the less you plug in there, the better. See if we can get that to go there. Looks like it's stuck. Come on. Hold on, guys. My screen's a little bit glitchy. There it goes. Finally went. So here I would say, okay, yep, this is the address that I'm searching. And when I click on fill, it just fills out a small portion of the data. So it's just moving a little bit slow. There we go. So now I can drop in there, and if it is active or coming soon, whichever the preference is there, and hopefully you guys are familiar with the coming soon status. But now I'm going to just start going on through there and filling out all of that basic information. So all those required fields are those that are shaded. And when you drop over to the description, you'll see how it's divided into the public remarks here. And as you drop on down, you've got the option for your unbranded virtual tours. And then you see the section for syndication remarks and your branded virtual tour. So you guys just make sure that when you drop in here, this particular section is going to take whatever you plugged into the public remarks. It's going to copy that down into the syndication section. Now, if you wanted to add in there your contact information, that's where you would add that under the syndication remarks. And I have found that they say that if you add it all into one section at a time, they may have like a sweeper that goes through and sweeps it out. So just maybe add it throughout the property description, plug it in there in bits and pieces. But you could add in there, you know, your contact information, any non-confidential information that you want so that folks contact you directly on your lease listing. And then you can also add in here your branded virtual tour if you have one. So that's pretty important under the description to make sure that you take a look at those two different sections. All right, and then of course, open house. Open house type, you have the virtual or attended or not attended. Okay, and you can plug in up to 6 open house at any given time. You just want to make sure if that open house is canceled, that you drop in there and delete it, because that open house information also goes out to the syndicated site. Okay. All right. See if I missed any questions.
I have a question.
Sure.
For the virtual open houses, is that just like a link and then people just, you know, it can be any kind of link? Like a YouTube
like for the
video?
No, for the virtual open house, what we're saying is if you're going to be at the house and you're hosting it virtually, so maybe you're going to be doing it like on Facebook Live, or you're going to be there and maybe you're doing it on Zoom and you're going to walk people through the house. So there we're not looking through a link. We're not looking for you to have created like a you know, video of it. We're looking for you to be there and walk folks through. So I think that's a little bit confusing because it says, you reference it, you're like, well, they're just looking for a virtual house. What do you want, my YouTube video that I created? You know, we're just looking for the link. So a lot of times agents will use like Facebook Live, they'll put the link in there, or they'll create a Zoom meeting and they'll say the meeting is going to be between 10 and 11 tomorrow morning. I'm going to be walking through the house, jump on my Zoom meeting and join me. And then you could have the Zoom app on your phone and you could show the property that way.
Okay. Thank you, Jane.
Okay. Sure, you're welcome. Sandy, let me see. What was your first question? Let's see. So if we remove showing time, I got that one. Can you put multiple words in?
If we
Go
change
ahead.
the options, does it go to all our listings, or do we have to do, if we want some listings not to have those options, can we change it per listing, or is it like just an umbrella for all of them?
Are you talking about showing time?
No, the options when you first showed us in the beginning, the resources and the distribution options.
Oh, the distribution options. No, that would be overall as a whole.
It is,
Yeah,
okay.
so whatever you choose there, it's just overall as a whole.
Okay, so you can't change it for each listing if you don't want it on some and not on some.
Right. Yeah, it's not per listing.
Okay, all right.
It just has to be.
That's all I want to know.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you bet. You're welcome. Let's see, Sylvia walked away. Any other questions, guys, that you might have? I think I've pretty much covered everything that I can think of. If you guys have any other questions, you know, you could have a market watch set up for residential lease here. So I don't know if you guys use your market watch, but I can have market watch for multiple property types. So if you wanted to watch the residential lease market, the default for your market watch on the home tab goes to residential. But if I toggle down to residential lease, I can drop in there and I can customize that specifically. So I have mine customized. So the option there, what I have set up is my postal code. So when I drop in there and I'm looking at that market watch, it's kind of a time saver because now I can say, okay, for residential lease, show me in the last 24 hours, which is a rolling 24 hours, are there any new lease listings? There's one. And I can simply drop over to that new lease listing. So that's kind of handy. And it's kind of confusing because you see it's defaulted to residential, but I could have it set up for multiple property types there. So that's kind of a time saver. Michelle, where do you put in other agent compensation and what is the minimum? Okay, so Sandy says there's no minimum. It's in the office tab. Yep, so you drop over here to add edit. I'll show you real quick. Drop down to residential lease. And I'll just start with a blank here. So active. So you go over to Office MLS, and there you see the buyer agent's compensation amount, typically in dollars or percentage. You put in the type, dollars or percentage. And I don't know what the typical amount is, but someone else said they'd give you help on that. So all that's under the Office MLS tab is where you're plugging all that in. Okay. All right, so Sandy's going to help you with that, Michelle. Okay. Any other questions, guys, that you all have? Sylvia, what do you think? How'd we do?
We did good. It's a lot of good information. But yeah, we can open it up to see if anybody needs any clarification or anything else that you would like to know.
There's anything else? Let's see. You're welcome, Michelle. Yeah, I mean, and it's kind of different for me because I don't usually get the request to talk about doing the residential leases. So hopefully I didn't stumble around too much because I'm always just geared towards, what we really focus on. But we're glad that you invited us out to join your session this morning. And if you need anything, reach out to us. We're here to help you. And, remember too, guys, you have all these tools over here on your dashboard. And if you're not utilizing, I just want to mention one thing before I go, which is eProperty Watch. And you can set 2,500 clients up on eProperty Watch, which is a data-rich newsletter that goes out automatically for you. And I have had agents that have had great luck with this tool. I've had agents who, during class, they said, look, I just set my client up on the eProperty Watch newsletter. They reached out to me and they said, wow, you landed in our inbox right at the right time because we're getting ready to list our property and we want you to come on out. Or we look at our property and we're thinking, you know what, rather than sell our property, we're going to rent it because we see in our neighborhood what the rents are going at. So why don't you come on out, let's talk about that. So if you guys are interested in a class on eProperty Watch, contact Vanessa at SRCAR and she can go ahead, she can set that up. She'll contact me and we can get that going. But take advantage of all your tools because they are your benefits. You're paying for them, so take advantage of them. All right. Anything else, guys? I'm going to drop off, let you finish up the rest of your meeting. You guys have a great rest of your day. Sylvia, thank you for inviting us.
No problem. Thank you.
Care. Okay, bye, guys.
Great information.
Bye.
You're welcome. See y'all.
All right. So I'm going to go back and share my agenda. So those are the two things that we have to follow up with in regards to today's class. So Jane said that she would see if there's a list of words not to use in the description, and then we had Shayla's suggestion. It was a really good suggestion about highlighting the phrase that is questionable in the description. And so right now, we'd just like to open it up, open forum. How are you guys doing? What did you think of the last trainings we've had? Just want to see how everybody's doing. Feel free to unmute.
This was really a good class. Thank you very much. I try to keep up on everything, but this really had some good information.
Yeah, they've done a lot of changes, so it's always good to have a refresher. What did you guys think of the last training with John Giardinelli? September 22nd, I think that was.
Excellent. I will love to have him come and speak to us specifically, because then we can ask specific questions, which it was hard to do on the other one.
Yeah, I agree. That I would love that.
Okay. Yeah, so it would be like a smaller group, kind of like these meetings that we have. We're still going to promote it for the membership, but it'll be, I'm thinking it probably will be a smaller group. Is there anything that wasn't covered during his training that you want him to cover this time around when he comes in?
I think there's still a lot of confusing information regarding evictions and when we can start and really expect to be able to continue through it. So I think that that's where the focus really is at this point.
Did I not just read an email that was sent by CAR where the eviction moratorium was going to end on the 31st of December? Or am I thinking of something else?
That is the probability, but that's not necessarily going to happen. And it's still, we're still waiting on what that's going to include. I mean, it's going to be restrictions.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think it's till January 31st, actually.
Yeah,
There's still a lot of questions. And we still have to get into so.
There was a resource I sent in the meeting about the evictions. I don't know if anybody saw it and if it's helpful. I'm gonna try to pull it up right now. I'm gonna share my screen.
I'm actually trying to do an eviction right now. I have a house where the owner wants to move back into their home. And so we gave the tenant 60-day notice that the owner wants to own or occupy, and they're refusing to leave.
Mm-hmm.
And so the attorney prepared the unlawful detainer and dropped it in the drop box at the court, and he's still waiting for a case number.
Yeah, that's the problem right now, and that's why I don't know when that's going to not be a problem. I
don't either. Like he said, he's been on other cases. He's been waiting for months. They're like backed up by months.
Yep.
I think the courts don't start eviction till like March. February's when you can file. That's the problem. So February's when the first time you're going to file, and then it takes like 30 days. So it's going to be March when you can start evictions.
No, that's for money judgments. For other reasons, like if someone's violating a lease or if an owner wants to move into the property, those can still.
You're supposed to allow that, but I don't know what the rules are for that.
Yeah, so
he's been falling under one umbrella.
Yeah, according to my attorney, we can still evict for those reasons, but he's done the paperwork and just waiting for a case number, and it could be months.
And that's what I'm saying, that those are all delayed till February. All the case numbers, they're not giving anything that I know.
That's what I've heard too. That
really
is going to happen. Yes, you can go ahead and file. You can try, but you're not going to get anywhere. It's going to sit there. I've got two people that on ones that I own myself, and put them on the market, and they did it within 90 days. And still not going to be able to live if they refuse. So
Sylvia, those resources that you pulled up, it's under the legal under CAR, right? Or is it under our board website?
It's under CAR.org.
It's under legal?
I don't know exactly if it's under legal. Let me see where it pulls from.
Okay, because I might want to read that.
Yeah, I'd like to read that too.
Yeah, it's under risk management and then legal tools.
Okay.
And it is included in the email I sent yesterday. One of the links at the bottom.
Oh, I didn't. Sorry, I must have missed it. Okay.
Okay.
How did you get there, Trent? went to learning.
She said
Word of-
CAR.org, risk management and tools.
And tools. But yeah, the easiest way would be the email from yesterday. I included, so there's two great guides right now that CAR has. It's the one that I just clicked on. And then there's the COVID tenant relief where it's like a hub of all the things relating to that. You can read a brief summary of the law and the different changes and forms, and I think there's a Q&A.
All right. Thank
Yeah,
you.
so if you didn't get the email from yesterday, let me know and I will forward it to you. But yes, you can access it from CAR.org and then going to risk management.
Thank you, Sylvia.
You're welcome. There was a question here from Shayla. Now if we list a rental, it could go to the 900 plus sources for free, not just Zillow. Yes, so pretty much anything that syndicates from MLS, whatever she listed, and I will include that in the email as well, in case you don't have CRMLS, you can have for reference, or you can give that, some people give that to their sellers as reference as well. And yeah, so it looks like the main thing to remember for John G, further clarification on evictions. Is there anything like clarification on the forms? I know that he went over a lot of forms the last meeting, and I don't know if you wanted him to review some of those.
He did mention about what Michelle was talking about, that if they're selling a home and it's tenant occupied, he said, and somebody is purchasing it as an owner occupied, then they have to leave. And the same thing if owner wants to move in. So those two, I think Michelle needs help with that on the date and timeline on it. And I think it'd be nice for all of us who do list properties as well, if somebody's going in as owner occupied, to know more about that as well. If we can
Yes.
get information on that.
Thank you, Sandy. That's perfect.
So owner occupied. So how would I word that?
So basically, it's timeline on evictions. If an owner wants to move back into a tenant occupied property, and also timeline on evictions if sellers selling the property and if somebody wants to move in as owner occupied. So not that they're not moving in as the owner, but somebody is selling it, and somebody wants to move in as to occupy the property themselves, not as a rental. So both of those.
And I think it would be useful also because he does do evictions. Part of his legal company does do evictions. So it would be interesting to know if they have had any luck on those type of evictions at all.
Yeah, if the courts are moving with cases and things, right? Is that what you're talking about, Deborah? Right. So owner wants to move in as owner occupied, and also it's owner selling it, and purchaser is purchasing as owner occupied. Purchases, yes, correct. Both. I know he said that they both fall in the same category, so I just want to confirm that and what the timeline is.
Okay. Sorry, I'm trying to access the chat. I saw there was 2 chats that came in, but I don't know where it went.
Michael, if an owner wants to sell a home, you still can't give notice to move. It has to be in escrow, and the buyer has to want to owner occupy before you can give a 60-day notice.
Right, but the thing is, how do we get them out still?
Yeah.
That's what we're talking about, evictions here, not just the notices. Is how are the courts proceeding with this?
Right. My attorney said San Bernardino is doing pretty well. They're like a week behind, but Riverside is doing terrible, and they're just months behind.
So that's our, we are in Riverside mostly, so not San Bernardino as much. So
Right.
Okay, well, it's 11 o'clock. Is there anything else that you would like me to add? You can email me. And thank you, everybody, for joining us. I know we're a small group. Mhm,
Can I
yes.
just ask one question since we're a small group? I'm getting still rent on all my tenants. I have about 60 properties I manage and they're all paying. Has anybody had, I know, Michelle, you said one, right? You had one, you have issues with anything else that's changed with anybody?
I have 2 that I have issues
two?
with, out of 100.
Okay. And what about anybody else? Have they had any issues or everybody's pretty much paying on time or just a few days late or something?
Yeah, all my people are paying on time. I had one that was like a week late, but their job worked out and they're fine now.
Thanks, Michael, for that. Okay, just curious. I was just wondering what everybody had and you know what's going on with everybody. It's nice to know because we're all together in the same boat here. So, thank you.
And I did check with CRMLS too, while we were in the meeting. So they don't regulate the minimum compensation on the listing. So as long as there's an amount offered, there really isn't a minimum requirement.
Right. It just has to be in writing, Michelle. That's all. It has to be on the listing agreement. What the owners. I'll help you with it, like I said, after you.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay.
I haven't used the MLS in so many years. I actually need to sign back up. So do I just call SRCAR, Sylvia, and get
Yeah.
back on that?
Since you're already a member, you would just let them know that you want to pay for the current quarter. And then I think right now it's $103.50 for October to December 31st.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, thank you, everyone. Have a great rest of the day. And I'm available via email, and you can call me as well. I am running around. So if you call me, I might not answer, but I'm here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sylvia.